The spoon. Very well could be one of the simplest tools. Nobody knows when the first spoon was used, but archaeologists have found spoons dating back to 1000 BC, which is about 3,000 years ago. It could have been one of the very first eating utensils that we all have used as a young child. It is simple, safe, and a useful tool. Think about how you would describe to a small child how to use one, either verbally or by demonstration. How quickly that child not only is able to hold the tool, but able to use it and understand how it works. There are lots of videos online that will show new parents how to teach the young child how to use that spoon. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Now, think about my parents and what they went through. There was no instructions or videos. For me, when I was young, a spoon was a very complicated tool and one that took me a long time to master. In fact, if you Google using a spoon with your feet, the very first result is a New Age video about a spoon being rubbed against the bottom of your soul. It's not that helpful, is it? So with no guides, and certainly no videos, my parents set out to teach me how to use a spoon. This difficult and frustrating task was simple, but important if I was ever going to be able to feed myself. So the very simple became complicated, and the complicated became simple. I soon mastered the spoon and many other tools and activities as I was a teenager. I grew up loving working and driving cars, and I grew up excited about my ultimate driving test when I was 16. I worked on my driving and getting ready for the all-important driving test. I passed the written test without any challenge, and the only thing that stood between me and my NASCAR glory was passing the driving test. The instructor was a bit nervous when he got into the car and saw me with my right foot on the steering wheel. For some reason, I thought this was a race, and I took off through the course, never once hitting a cone, making every turn and maneuver in record time. Now, my car was not modified for me in any way, and I asked for no assistance or help during the test. But my instructor was too nervous to pass me, even though I had technically passed. So, no license. This was a new kind of obstacle, a new kind of rejection. For the first time in my life, I felt the frustration of being different. All my life, I had decided that my disability would never hold me back. And now, through no fault of my own, it had. I decided to keep pushing and pushing, and after years later, I finally did get my license, which was a major milestone for me. It took me years to see and understand that what I saw was my ticket to freedom, my driver's license. The instructor saw nothing but fear about what would happen if I was actually ever in an accident, and they came looking for the instructor who passed Matt. My license was freedom and optimism, but for the instructor it was anxiety. Eventually, freedom and optimism won that day. And in the depths of the financial crisis of 2008, I had 2 young sons, no job, and I needed to contribute to support my family. I worked any job that would hire me, car sales, even delivered pizzas, anything that I could do to make ends meet. One morning, I had this crazy idea. I decided that if I could just get a bow, go hunting, and bag a deer, I would put food in the freezer. How hard could that be? I would be feeding my family, and I decided to go for it. It couldn't hurt to try. I managed to convince my landlord to let me skip 1 month's rent, and I bought a bow. Pretty soon, I had one in my feet, and I began practicing, and in just a few days, I was out in the woods and bagged my first deer. I now had food for the winter. Later that winter, I was invited to my very first archery tournament where I did not get last. After a few days, a bow manufacturer called and wanted to sponsor me, and this was a huge opportunity for me. And I was feeling excited as well as a little bit nervous. I told my good friend about it, and he said, "Matt, the reason why they sponsor you is because you have no arms and you draw attention to their product. It's not because you're good." Those words hurt, but they were true. I wasn't any good. So I did the only thing that I knew how to do. I decided to get to work. I practiced and practiced, shot arrow after arrow, honing my craft, getting better and better. And as the months passed, I started to come to the realization that archery was it. Archery was what I was meant to do. I thought about my parents and how they decided to support my dreams without any question, raised me to be self-reliant, never afraid to fail. How I did not give in to the driving instructor who couldn't see me for what I could do, but for what I didn't have. I thought about my friend whose true and honest words and my decision to actually prove him wrong. So there I was in London at the Paralympic Games, which are the pinnacle of sport, and everyone I was competing against had both their hands and their arms. I won the silver medal, and soon I went on to set a Guinness World Record for the longest accurate archery shot of 310 yards. I have won national and international able-bodied archery tournaments, and I am training to compete in my third Games of Tokyo 2020. What was once a tool to help me feed my family became the vehicle that propelled me to be self-reliant. What first looks like a miss, when looked from a different perspective, is a bullseye. I see things not for what they are, but what they could be, and I think you should too. Thank you.